to this critical moment in which we now live. And this requires critical thought. This also requires some intuitive thought. And so now, with Allah's blessed name, let us seek to recall this strategic Sunnah. In the struggle between truth and falsehood, between justice and injustice, Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam was attacked. War on Islam was waged by the Quraysh, by the forces of oppression and injustice and falsehood and idolatry. And when you are faced with war on Islam, what do? If you are not strong enough, do you compromise in order to continue to live where you are? In order to hold on to your green card and to hold on to your job and to hold on to your car and your house? Or do you hold on to the truth regardless of consequences? The Sunnah is that even if you have to give up Makkah, you hold on to the truth and you keep on proclaiming the truth. When that happens, you will have to make hijrah, as so many are now making hijrah from Britain and from the United States of America and from Australia, and let us also include Singapore, because you no longer have the freedom to preach the truth. But when he made hijrah, that was not the end. They did not leave him alone. No, they came after us. And then there was the battle of Badr. And in that battle we gave them a beating. It was humiliating for them, as it is today humiliating to them that our guerrilla warfare in Afghanistan has succeeded against the mightiest force in the world. It's humiliating to them that for 10 years they have given all that they could give to Afghanistan, and yet they have not succeeded. So we were successful at Badr, but they were so humiliated that they wanted revenge, and then they came back at us, now with the biggest army that they could raise, the Quraysh. They didn't seek help from others, not yet. This is the Quraysh against you. And so they came and we fought at Uhud. And it was a stalemate. They could not move in for the kill because we retreated up the mountain. And so yes, they had the upper hand over us at Uhud, but they could not destroy us. It was a stalemate. So they said that we have avenged for Badr. We have beaten you at Uhud, but the war still continues. And then they came 2 years later with the largest military alliance they could possibly bring together. And this time they came for the kill, to finish off us completely once and for all. But no, they did not succeed. And they had to fold their tents and go back home when the siege did not succeed. And so now you have military stalemate. What's going to happen? While they were at Khandaq besieging us, we had an alliance with the pagan Arabs and with the Jews called the Mithaq of Medina. And that Mithaq of Medina was a treaty with certain obligations, that members of the treaty could not support an enemy against a fellow member of the treaty, and the Jews violated that. And so as soon as the Khandaq war had failed and the Quraysh and the alliance had withdrawn, we took action against Banu Qurayza, before that Banu Qaynuqa. And the Jews fled to Khaybar. They lost their properties in Medina, and they were grinding their teeth in anger and in frustration. They wanted blood, they wanted vengeance, and they built their base in Khaybar. The Quraysh, on the other hand, to the south, I wish we had a map, were also very frustrated because they had given to warfare all that they could and they had not succeeded. If we were to sit in Medina and do nothing, as if today we were to sit in the world and do nothing, what would be the consequence? Answer: Khaybar and Makkah will make an alliance against us. Khaybar is to the northwest, Makkah is to the south, and we would be sandwiched. Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam understood this strategic environment in which the Muslims were located. Understood that you could not sit down and do nothing. Go to the masjid and go back home. Go to the masjid and go back home. That you needed an initiative that would alter this strategic environment and make it more advantageous for you. What did he do? In fact, it was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who sent the guidance which is applicable to us today. As Israel prepares to launch its attack on Iran and on Pakistan and then on Egypt, Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam had a dream, or a vision more properly, in which he saw himself making tawaf around the Kaaba. But the Kaaba is in Mecca, and we in Mecca are at war with each other. How can you go to the Kaaba? But this was a peace offensive that was dazzling in its diplomatic brilliance. He woke up from his sleep, and this is now the year 6 of the Hijrah, and he announced that he is going to make Umrah, to visit the house of Allah. The whole of Arabia recognized the right of every Arab to visit the house of Allah. And if the Quraysh were to block you from visiting the house of Allah, you will win public opinion on your side. They will be cornered. But if the Quraysh allows us to perform the Umrah while we are at war, they are at war with us, and we go to Mecca and we make the Umrah and we make the Tawaf and we come back home, the whole of Arabia would be laughing at the Quraysh. And so when Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam announced that we're going to the house of Allah to make the pilgrimage, the lesser pilgrimage, the Umrah, this was a peace offensive which placed the Quraysh on the horns of a dilemma. On the horns of a dilemma. They could not allow us to come because that would be embarrassing. And they could not prevent us from coming because that would be a public relations disaster for them. It's called the horns of a dilemma, and it is diplomacy at its most brilliant. A peace offensive against someone waging war against you. There was a reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent that vision, which directed our attention first towards Mecca rather than to Khaybar. If we had not announced that we're going to Mecca on a pilgrimage to the house of Allah, if we had taken up arms to go and fight Mecca, then what would the Khaybar do? When we have left Medina to march down to Mecca, Khaybar will attack Medina and take Medina. And we lose our base. So we can't move south. No, we lose Medina. And if we were to leave Medina to go and attack Khaybar, what's going to happen? Mecca will come and take Medina, because Medina